So last month I had talked about a group of inspections I did for 261 balcony decks, and it really is about what's hidden from probably home ins a lot of home inspectors. I mean, some things were obvious, but there's a lot of hidden, and part of this came about because we noticed some rot on the decks and railings when doing other inspections in the community. And I brought it to their attention and said, have you done anything to look at all these problems in the decks and assess them? And they said, well, we've been meaning to. And I offered, I said, well, I could put in a bid. Now, this wasn't an engineering report. This was really using what standards a home inspector would do. However, it was invasive. We took down the soffits under these balcony decks to look at the construction and hidden damage, not completely. And a report was issued from there. I've got a few things out of the report to kind of illustrate it. We were also asked if we could categorize the decks according to what decks needed to be worked on first and rank them. And we put together a spreadsheet out of the 261 decks, ranking them according to categories I developed based on safety and risk. So that's what I talked about, and that's probably the end of the meeting now, right? That was meant to be a joke, but
I got it. I got it. Stanley, I'm thinking that it might make sense for you if you open your PowerPoint and just go through the pictures about 3 times as fast as you did last month. I think that would be would stimulate enough conversation that we would get
okay.
Get this to be a meaningful discussion.
Okay, now I've already been through about half the PowerPoint. So let's see, I have to share screen here, minimize myself. All right, so going through here, we went through about half these where we're pulling the soffits down. And this is just illustrating, we unzipped the vinyl soffit. So this is what was hidden. And here, let's see if I can,
Stanley, it seems like one of the questions people had where they were pointing out that you were going beyond what they typically would do. And I think that was one of the questions that they wanted some clarification on that. And you and I had talked about it afterwards. Could you explain what it was you were actually doing here? Because clearly this wasn't a quote unquote home inspection.
It is not a home inspection. It's a further investigate. However, I'm using pretty much the same standards of a home inspection, a lot of the same decision making, same knowledge. The difference is I'm surveying the decks with the moisture meter, not just occasionally or where I think there's a problem. I'm going around and looking for it. I'm looking and opening up the soffits, taking them down and then putting them back up. So that's way different. It's not to tell you that I'm doing a home inspection, I did this. It's to tell you I used a lot of the training and tools from home inspection and really change the business to not, I don't do home inspections. I do investigations into building problems of all types. And this just happened to be, one opportunity. And I thought it was interesting because these decks were all rebuilt like 10 years before. Not even 10 years when I was there, maybe 9. And this is what I'm finding. This is an opportunity. Hollis, we have more questions or something?
Yeah, I'm not seeing a lot of questions. So once you keep on going, then I just
okay. So
keep
let's see if this works. Here, what was Control L, I think, for laser. Yeah, there we go. Here we were finding gaps between the framing and um, the joist and the beams, uh, more than 1/8 of an inch. A lot of this I expected to go to an engineer. It did not, but that was the expectation. They were going to take this report, go to an engineer, and then the engineer would evaluate these things and put them as well and come up with design repairs. But the engineers basically said there's no way they could touch this. There are too many problems, and they'd have to look at each deck and do a custom design. Close up where they have an overlap of a hurricane clip and a hanger. And it's like, well, how do you get the nails in properly? In that instance. Here, look at the severe corrosion here. This was about half the thickness that was meant to be. And this is the support for the joist. Here's another one, missing fasteners. Real common. Also, notice this is a normal hanger. It's at the end of this beam with the joist. So what you find when looking in here is you see that they bent the hanger over. I don't think they nailed it, but they bent it. So you can't alter these connectors like that. A lot of this you would have seen if you had if you were just had an open deck. I mean, this would be obvious to home inspectors. So what do we have here? A corner bracket used as a hanger, no fasteners on one side, and then regular nails, almost framing nails. Here you have a joist that was toe nailed. Here's an example of opening it up and looking at the rot and water that was coming in, just to show. A lot of this would be hidden to home inspectors. I'm not trying to say you do this, although it can be an opportunity. Here's a great example of having a big gap here, and you can see the fasteners where they're going through air. Obviously, that's a problem. Another one where they're missing fasteners. And I just did representative photos. I didn't do each deck. But the representative photos are things I'll hop to something what the spreadsheet was at the end. Hollis, just give me a heads up with the last maybe 5 minutes or something. Okay?
Heads up, heads up.
Heads up. Now you're
Yeah.
ready?
I'm
Ready to
saying,
finish it
you
up?
said, you said 5 minutes. You said, give me a heads up at 5 minutes.
Okay.
I'm saying heads up. You got 5 minutes.
All right. So missing fasteners. Um, let's see. No fasteners. Here, they've got a post, but it's only connected to the deck with one fastener, not 2 or 4. So it doesn't have enough connectors. I'm going to get out of this and just go to the end and kind of, let's see if I can escape. I'm still shared, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We do have a question though about the complications in zipping and unzipping. I mean, how hard is that to do? Do you carry one of those zip tools with you, or what's the deal with that?
Oh, yeah, I carry a complete construction toolbox. Or tool bag, really, I set up for doing destructive investigations. Yes, we became quite proficient at unzipping it. One person would unzip, start taking some preliminary pictures or notes. We could, the key is you need to do it during a warmer period. Don't try doing it in the winter, but we we could probably unzip it in a matter of like 30 seconds. Multiple pieces, and then we carried um, large-headed screws with square drives, so we didn't have to nail it back up if we had to. Let's go into. I'll show this first, and then we can see from there. Let me put this. All right. So what? This is an example of a spreadsheet ranking the units. Um, the unit number, whether it was front and back, balcony, deck. And we ranked the units according to ones that needed repairs first, which became kind of like all of them. Didn't know that at the start, though. We're starting out with no knowledge. And then we also ranked them by unit. So they were sorted by each by unit numbers. And that way people could go and look at them. So the thing that I would say is what we looked at were things like metal connectors corroded, because once a connector is corroded, it's no longer structurally the same. Improper blocking, fasteners missing, deck substrate soft. In other words, under the membrane, if the plywood was soft, incorrect fasteners, post
So
loose.
Stanley, did you create this spreadsheet yourself?
Yes,
So the
we
whole
did it
report
on the
was something,
site.
yeah, the whole
We
report
built,
was something you created the format for the report yourself.
yeah, it was based on the proposal. I had an idea. I've done this before. I mean, but we went out there, and as we found problems, we built our spreadsheet on the tablet. That this isn't, you can't really use home inspection reports for this. I'd love to, in a lot of ways, but you can see we gave a number. So we pretty much figured 10 immediate action because of some safety issue.
You just
And
use Excel for that?
yeah, I did a 1 to 10. I kept it simple.
You use the Excel, the software package.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And then the ranking, I kept it simple. And clearly in the report, let's see. So here, Control L, conditions were identified that, in the professional opinion of the inspector, were significantly deficient or posed a safety risk based on inspection standards, which were part of, the proposal. And that's how it was my professional judgment. So when I'm ranking them, I'm owning it. That's a little different. But what we're looking for is when we have something, let's see, like where we get membrane damage, that can be an immediate leak. The framing damaged, when we get post loose over here. So by that I mean we're able to move the post, 3 inches, say, with hand pressure. Now, by the way, I do have a force gauge, so I know how much force I'm going to put on a post. And when we're talking about moving it, generally we're talking about maybe 15 pounds of force at the top of the post. It's not rocket science. Yes, something's
Stanley, if you
holes
can
and
wrap it up there.
quizzes
Yeah,
are
yeah. If
popping
you
up.
can, yeah, sorry, that's actually for the next speaker. If you can wrap it up, we're ready to roll
Okay.
on.
Well, that's the wrapping up, showing that there was a spreadsheet that would rank it according to determination.
Well,
And
real quickly, we do have one last question here. If you want to
sure.
just address that. He's just wanting to know what's the criteria and what does it take to get an 8 or 9 or a 10? I mean, I think that's probably where you were going, isn't it? If you can
Yeah.
finish that thought.
Well, loose post, rotted wood, water, wet wood, an active leak. I mean, I put that on my professional judgment as an immediate safety concern. Now I'm not pulling these out of my, out of my hat. And also I've done facade inspections on high-rise buildings where we have to rank them according to safety issues.
Okay, well, good. Thanks, Stanley. Appreciate you coming back to straighten clear some of that stuff up.